Stranger Things Season 5 has presented an inverted Christ figure with an inverted 12 apostles and an inverted Last Supper.
Hi. Whether you watch Stranger Things or not, I'm sure it has made its way onto your For You page this week because Season 5 was just released, and that's their grand finale. And there was also a scene that has so much of the internet talking because the main character, Will Byers, has confirmed that he is into boys.
Will coming out to tell everybody that he's gay in the middle of a save the world or else we all die type of conversation has to summarize where we are as society, because what are we talking about, bro? Who cares?
And had nothing to do with the plot, and yet again Netflix including a character that is coming out that they like the same gender. I feel like this show was originally packaged to me as a family-friendly show, and it's just not anymore. But regardless of all that, I want to turn your attention to something else that I found when I was looking into Stranger Things over this weekend that actually blew my mind, because my dad turned to me on the couch and he was like, Taylor, I was watching this priest the other day that was talking about how the upside down in Stranger Things is actually hell, or the spiritual realm that we cannot see, the spirits and principalities that are at work that we cannot see in the natural realm. And this got me digging because I was like, okay, now I am curious. And you guys know I love a good conspiracy, and I also love to just find biblical connections in shows because it's interesting, right? But I wanted to bring your focus to what I found over this weekend, because there are occult practices deeply rooted in Stranger Things that you probably never noticed, and also some biblical connections that are really hard not to believe. Let's dive in. Like most people, I started watching Stranger Things when it first came out in 2016. At the time, I didn't look much into any show I was watching because I figured it was just entertainment. I didn't think twice about the opening scene to this show and the game that these kids were playing called Dungeons and Dragons. But if you were to look into it, as many found themselves doing during the satanic panic era of the 80s, you'll come to find out that it contains a ton of spiritual themes. Dungeons and Dragons includes magic, spells, sorcery, demons, devils, necromancy, pagan-style gods and rituals, spirit-like entities, and alternate realms. During the satanic panic era of the 80s, many Christians were warning others not to play this game because it was heavily spiritual. And if you're wondering, Taylor, what on earth is the satanic panic era, we're going to be talking about it in a future video. But in short, it took place during the 80s to the mid 90s. And it was a time where hidden darkness was being exposed rapidly. And basically many people labeled it as a time where Christians were calling everything demonic, and everything that they were claiming was demonic should not be taken seriously because it was a part of the satanic panic era. And it's not far off from the times that we're specifically living in now, because I'm sure you see so many comments from other people saying, Christians, it's not that deep. But the thing is, it really is that deep. It's very frustrating being a Christian. You almost have to accept the fact that no matter how much evidence you have in the entire world to prove something is spiritual or demonic, if the person you are showing it to has a hard heart and hasn't accepted Jesus, they cannot see what you can see. But anyways, Dungeons and Dragons was largely talked about in the 80s during the satanic panic era.
Dungeons and Dragons has been around since the early 70s. It's played by an estimated 5 million people. It is also the target of a group of concerned parents in the United States who call themselves BADD, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
This game has angered a lot of people, but others support it adamantly. One critic of the game also feels that Dungeons and Dragons promotes Satanism.
There's a book called None Dare Call It Witchcraft, who said it's the most cleverly packaged presentation to the occult ever made.
And they have complete descriptions of how to cast spells, and how to contact powerful spirits, and how to use these spirits and these powers to overcome, obviously, evil or good. Here it says, it is important to remember that the source of all magic is the life force of the user. This is the teaching of the occult. This is exactly what we were introduced into in Star Wars and E.T., that there is some magical power, some life force that runs throughout the universe.
But if you've watched Stranger Things, it doesn't take long to realize that aside from the game Dungeons and Dragons having spiritual ties, the show certainly has plenty of them as well, specifically biblical symbolism. Now, this isn't saying that the duffer Brothers intended on this for the show, but I think you can confirm in this video with what I'm about to show you that the symbolism lines up eerily well to the Bible. First connection being that Vecna seems to be portraying the Antichrist, being that he starts off as human, is intelligent, charismatic, and believes humanity is broken and must be reshaped. Now, for those of you who actually read your Bible, you would know the Antichrist is described as being fully human, exceptionally persuasive, and believing that he sees the truth while others are blind. Not only that, but Vecna does not see himself as evil. He believes he is freeing people, correcting the world, and offering truth. That mirrors the biblical warning that the Antichrist comes as an angel of light. Vecna attacks trauma, shame, guilt, and isolation. And this isn't actually just my theory.
Stranger Things Season 5 has presented an inverted Christ figure with an inverted 12 apostles and an inverted Last Supper. The question is, why? And I can only see that there are two options. The first option is they're saying Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples were actually a force of good in the world, and therefore inverting that good would be a bad thing. Or they're saying that Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples were actually a picture of evil and bad and darkness in the world, and we're showing you what we really think of Jesus and his 12 disciples. Holly is the only good kid in the sense that she's the only one who understands that Vecna is actually an evil demonic entity from the abysmal realm, and so she is the one who is seen as the betrayer who is trying to tell the others the actual truth. So she's an inversion of the true function of Judas in the gospel story.
And it's also largely due to the hierarchy, because yes, Vecna is powerful, but he's not the ultimate power. The Mind Flayer still looms above him. This reflects the idea that Satan is the source of evil, and the Antichrist is the agent who enforces it in the world. Vecna acts and the Mind Flayer rules. Many things led a lot of Christian viewers to consider that the Mind Flayer was portraying Satan. He is portrayed as a supreme evil power. He is ancient, all-controlling, and operating through fear and corruption rather than appearing directly, which mirrors how Satan is described in the Bible. A ruler over a fallen domain, one who influences rather than always manifests, and a being who seeks to corrupt, dominate, and destroy. And one of the more obvious ones, to me at least, that many have considered is that the Upside Down is actually the demonic realm that we cannot see. Rulers, authorities, cosmic powers, and spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. The Upside Down is an inverted, decaying version of the real world. A twisted reality, no life, only decay, parallel but corrupted. People connect this to the idea of a fallen realm. Not to mention the show's heavy focus on astral projection, which many are completely unaware of what that is, because astral projection is deep occult knowledge. It's the belief that consciousness or an astral body can separate from the physical body and travel to other places or dimensions. It's seen as a spiritual practice where the subtle, non-physical self explores realms beyond the physical. I know this sounds crazy, and it's probably really hard to believe if it's your first time hearing about it, especially if you've only seen it in the Stranger Things show and you're thinking that it's only fiction. But many people deeply rooted in the occult claim to be able to do this. I didn't even know what it was until about 2 years ago when I came across the story of how Aleister Crowley, the founder of the Satanic Church, allegedly passed away in the middle of astral projecting.
During that time, he would either call on a phone, or a lot of times he would astral project and actually speak through his daughter, Ray LeVay. During that process, he was able to astral project, which means that he would leave his physical body, he would come in the spirit plane and do what we call a body jacking. It's a lot like a carjacking, only it uses a human body. And she said that the whole coven was gathered around Anton LaVey because he had bounced, as they call it, but he was not able to re-enter his body from the astral plane, which is equivalent to death. So at that point, no one else in the world knew that Anton LaVey had died, but we knew not only that he had died, but he had died in a battle, a spiritual contest between spirit-filled Christians and his occult coven.
If you have never seen that full story, you should definitely check it out because it is crazy. And honestly, it's really hard not to believe it when you hear the full story. But I just find it so interesting that this occult practice is heavily portrayed in Stranger Things, among the symbolism that lines up very well with biblical imagery. And as we get closer to the end of times and the devil is not hiding anymore, you're almost always going to find biblical imagery and biblical connections in shows. And I know so many people would argue, Taylor, you know, if you're going to look for something, you're going to find it. And I totally get that, but at the same time, I just don't find it to be a coincidence anymore. It's too in our face at this point. And if you're a Christian, I know you can't miss it. The connections with the Bible and Stranger Things are very interesting, and I thought they were worth sharing and making a video about. So I love you guys. God bless you. I will see you for the next one, and I'll also see you guys in the comments. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see more videos to help you grow in your faith with Jesus, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also that notification bell so you are notified the second we post a new video. And I will see you guys in the comments.